All right, what I'm doing here is marking my table saw fence so I can do some stopped grooves or dados on some of the part. As with many machine operations, if you're not comfortable doing it, simply don't do it. Personally, I've done this for many years and I'm quite comfortable. So you can see that my 1/4 inch dado blade setup left a little sliver in the middle, but that'll be easy to clean up at the router table. Since it's a stop dado, I need to use a router table anyway. Again, making marks from the tailing edge to the leading edge of the router bit, making marks where I can see them. Fantastic, all the parts grooved or dadoed. And here I'm measuring for the drawer bottoms, right? Nothing new, just 2 pieces of wood slid apart to get an exact measurement. So for the drawer bottoms, I use this spectacular figure beach. All right, so this is domino dock in action. Of course, the Festool domino is available in 2 sizes. This is the XL 700. I also have domino docks for the DF 500. So I'm setting up this larger machine here. And the domino dock just puts your domino machine in an upright position and just makes it easier to bring the work to the machine, and specifically for small parts. I turn this around where it faces the camera. You can see what I'm doing here. And I actually forgot to film this, so I had to do it again. You can see the parts on the table or on the bench there. They're already cut. But essentially, I have these small parts to cut. And so I needed a way to clamp those effectively. And what I have here is a scribe, and I'm just trying to find center. So it's easier than trying to measure. I just assume center, check it by turning it around. If it's close, I can make a small adjustment. Sometimes it's dead on. Make a small adjustment, flip it back around, back and forth until you're dead center. Super easy and quick. And this plate on my machine is the dock plate XL by Seneca Woodworking. You can see the stops on the side. Fantastic addition to the domino. I believe he makes them for both size machines. So we're going to move on to the next part. All right, so this 90-degree plate I made, I actually milled it flat on my dad's Bridgeport, or 90 degrees I should say. Let me show you how that works. So basically it just mounts to the bottom of the machine. Either machine, it'll fit either machine. And then this will give us a nice flat, dead reference. All right, had to change angles there. So I've got this plate on, and the only thing that would make this thing better is if it was covered with sandpaper, so it would grip your material better. I might end up doing that. But it works really well because now you have this nice stable surface. I'm going to be cutting like that, so it's easy to line up, right? You could add a clamp here if you wanted. But what I really want to show you is the depth. So, of course, this has a 5mm increment to adjust the depth, but even on the shallowest, that bit would be going right through the front of my drawer, and certainly don't want that, right? So years ago I had discovered this is like PVC or ABS sprinkler riser, 1/2 inch, and by cutting it at the bandsaw in this kind of configuration, and I cut in half but over half on one end so that it'll snap in place. Let me see, I think this is the one I need. And of course you can just make it any length and then trim it at the chop saw to control that depth. That dude snaps on there. And now I can control the depth of cut. Kind of cool, yeah? All right, let's do a sample cut here. Beautiful, flush. That's how you do it. So you can probably see that routing a mortise into this board, the conventional method would be a little bit awkward, but with the domino in an upright position and then that 90-degree plate just makes it super easy. Whoopsie. Maybe like that. All right, so here's a close-up of that sprinkler riser. You can see different lengths here. Fantastic depth stop. All right, getting ready to glue this drawer box, and wanted to share with you wet rag, glue brush, glue spreader, place to spread some glue, right? Hammer, bigger hammer. I got my clamps ready. So yeah, let's glue this. So you might not be able to tell in this video, in this fast video, but I'm able to put glue in that groove, and I put it just at the bottom of the groove so I don't get glue squeeze out on the inside. And that makes a very strong drawer box, and it will resist racking rather than if you just have a groove with a bottom that's able to slip within that groove. That's just not going to be near as strong. All right, that turned out pretty good. Went well, no hiccups. And I've got good glue squeeze on the outside where I want it. Very little glue squeeze on the inside where I don't want it. And we'll let this set. I've recorded the time, 8:20, so in an hour I can pull these clamps. I've already checked it for square. Everything looks good. So yeah, that was a success. So these cleats that I'm adding to the bottom add a tremendous amount of strength. The bottoms are only 1/4 inch, but the drawers or rollouts are kind of wide. So with these 2 additional cleats in the center, this will help carry the load much better. So this thing has dried overnight. Pull these clamps off, these weights, and see how we did. It's a little bit wide for a drawer. Well, it's because it's a rollout. Not really, I guess it's a drawer box. But with these added cleats underneath, plenty strong, yeah? I talk about this plastic all the time. You don't need blocks with tape on them, which only last a couple of times. These I use over and over and over. Glue doesn't stick to them. They don't stick to the glue. They pop right off. Fabulous. There we go. Nice, right? Flat, strong, solid. Tiny little bit of glue squeeze in the inside corners here and there, not bad at all. And but yeah, that's a 1/4 inch bottom. Well, 1/4 inch with veneer on both sides, so a little over 1/4, but you can hear how solid that is. Good idea, right? And don't really need this to stick out here on the back side because you're going to be cutting a notch anyway if you're using an undermount drawer guide, which I am. So I just eliminate that, and that way I can glue this solid. You know, we used to make thousands, tens of thousands of drawer boxes. We didn't make them like this, but the way we made them, we did not cut a groove. We put the drawer bottom on the bottom, directly to the bottom. They were commercial cabinet drawer boxes. And so they were made of melamine. Well, to make that many quickly and strong, we used a melamine glue, an 1.25 inch staple. The bottom got stapled directly to the bottom, very strong. In over 30 years of tens of thousands of drawer boxes, we never had one failure. And here's my point. When you cut a groove in 4 sides for a drawer box, one thing that is hard to do is to glue that in solid. And if you can't glue it in solid, then you have 4 sides that are being held by the corners, and so it's not going to resist racking as much as if you can attach a bottom directly to the bottom like I did here. In addition, if your bottom is cut nice and square, dead on square, as you apply that, you in essence square up your box automatically. This situation is kind of a hybrid because there is a dado or a groove, but on the back side where I don't need that to be a groove or a dado, I just nail it on solid. Then with something like this, very, very strong. So this will get touched up, sanded a little bit, some finish goes on. That should look fantastic, yeah. Back then, a 1/4" drawer bottom would be hidden with 3/4 extension, epoxy coated bottom mount drawer guides, which were the norm. Okay, yet another way to make a drawer box. So check it out. So these are just made of Baltic birch, 1/2 inch, edge banded with maple, 1/4 inch Baltic birch bottom. And you can see that the front, this is the back, and this is the front because this would have received a drawer front. So that's why it's raw. But the front and the back are a 1/4 inch lower in height than the sides. Maybe not a 1/4 inch, but the thickness of the 1/4 inch drawer bottom. And so being lower in height by that distance, the bottom gets directly anchored to the front and back. Then the sides are actually rabbeted. Probably hard to see on the end, but they're rabbeted, and then also with glue, those get stapled and anchored down. And so you end up with a very strong, rigid drawer box. Now, if you had this same size drawer, and the typical way of doing that is to cut grooves all the way around and slip a drawer bottom in, unless that drawer bottom is anchored with glue, and let's face it, it's challenging to put glue in a groove like that without smearing glue all over, right? So by doing it this way, you can glue the bottom on it. It makes it very strong. If this just had a groove or a dado all the way around, and of course the corners would be anchored, but the bottom would be essentially floating, then this drawer would twist. It would rack. It would rack this direction, and it would twist like that. This one will not. You can see how very rigid drawer box that is. So lots of ways to do things, yeah? Also remember, when a drawer bottom is captured within a groove, you're going to lose some of your storage height because that groove is up from the bottom. So maybe a rabbet would be a better option, and I'm going to show you how to do that here in a bit. And listen, you don't have to use staples to apply that. You could just clamp that in place. What's really important is that you make sure that you do all your glue ups on a known dead flat surface. Yes, very important. So my drawer boxes don't always get built the same way. You can see that these small drawer boxes, they're not going to have drawer guides, so the bottom is not recessed up a 1/2 inch. I'm going to inlay or inset the drawer bottom. After clipping the corners at the chop saw to get rid of most of the material, I just use a belt sander to make these radiuses. I know that my rabbet bit cuts a 5/8 radius, so I use a 1.25 inch diameter to draw a circle, and I can just follow that line. It's quick, it's easy, very effective. Oftentimes, if I want that perfect fit, I'll get close with the belt sander, and then I'll sneak up to the line with a sanding block until I get a nice, beautiful drop-in fit. All right, so bottoms fit, and in my shop I have some really nice sunlight. You can see this shadow. I don't know if you can see that. Probably doesn't show it very well, but there's this tiny little shadow, so it's just about right. So once this is glued in, this will all come off. And when I glue this in, I of course have to be careful not to get too much glue. We don't want it to squeeze out on the inside of the drawer box. However, I don't mind and actually prefer glue squeeze all the way around the outside. That'll fill any of this tiny little gap and just make it look much cleaner when it's done. Here, to glue the bottoms in, I put a small spacer between them. Again, nice dead flat surface and some weights to make sure everything stays flat. Finally, here are the drawers in action. You can see the beautiful half-blind dovetails there. The overall finish on this piece is conversion varnish with the exception of the sides of these small drawers. That's just sanded smooth and waxed. So these small drawers needed a way to bottom out precisely. So what I did is I used a fine thread tap, did a counter bore, cut some threads, and the counter bore allowed the bolt head and the bumper to recess into this threaded hole, right? And with that, I can control the exact depth that the drawer slides in. These drawers also have a catch to keep them from coming out too far, and now I have a nice cushioned stop for the drawers. So I turn this little knob or key, has a magnet in it. It releases the catch, allows the drawer to come out. And you can see that little notch I put at the back of the drawer. I knew it was going to get dented, so I just went ahead and made a notch. And here's the latch in action. So the latch is down or in the way. Release the latch. Drawer slides in. Catches every time. Just kept it simple. Magnets. So this piece will actually live in the middle of a room. That's why there's hidden drawers on one side and these rollouts and doors on the other. There are those cleats, super strong. And that key actually lives right up in the front here, up underneath. Full extension drawers, drawer guides, soft close. Beautiful marquetry created in Wenge. Anyway, thanks a ton for watching. Make your day great.